What up, peeps? It's time for another Tony Baker Revisits. So, as you know, or may not know, I have revisited the Karate Kid franchise. I know Cobra Kai is popping. I'm watching it. I'm on season 2. Everybody relax. I know it exists. But I wanted to revisit the Karate Kid franchise. Now, I've already gave Karate Kid from 1984 a revisit video. It's on my YouTube page. You can find it right here on this page. So now we're going into part 2. Now, I hadn't seen part 2 probably since the 80s. I remember when I first saw it, it came out in 1986. First of all, they made this sequel immediately. The first Karate Kid came out in the summer of 1984. Karate Kid 2 came out in the summer of 86. That's an extremely fast turnaround. So they was like, they must have already had their script hot and ready when the first one was out. And they was just like, yo, the first Karate Kid made $90 million in 1984. Let's get the sequel cooking. Let's get it cooking. Get Pat back in here. Get Ralph back in here. Let's relive the magic, shall we? They made that quick, fast. And the budget was only $13 million. The budget for the Karate Kid Part 2 was only $13 million. It made, let me look. It made $130 million worldwide in 86 money. On a $13 million budget, y'all. Keep the budgets low, man. Less is more, man. Less is more. We got Ralph back. We got Pat back. We did Elizabeth Shue back. We didn't get her back. She didn't come back. The movie picks up immediately after the events of the first Karate Kid. You know what I'm saying? We see Daniel-san win the tournament, and so outside in the parking lot, Daniel and Mr. Miyagi are leaving the tournament, and they see Creasy, whatever his name is, getting rough with his students that lost. It's like he's putting hands on Johnny. He's like, failure is unacceptable. He beating him down in the parking lot. The other students in the class like, get off him, man, he tried. So he's beating these kids up. Mr. Miyagi ain't gonna stand for that. So Mr. Miyagi intervenes. Creasy is trying to hit him. And Mr. Miyagi is defensive. So, Creasy would come at him with a punch. He moves out the way. He punches through a window in the car. Bloody knuckles. He just like, all right, I got one knuckle down for the count. He does it again. He punches at Mr. Miyagi again. Mr. Miyagi dodges. He punches out another window. Bloody Knuckle McGee. Creasy is Bloody Knuckle McGee at this point, and he's down for the count. And Mr. Miyagi has him dead to rights. He's like, honk, and then he honks his nose. And like, you know what I'm saying? You could show mercy out here. Teaches a valuable lesson to the Cobra Kai kids, to Daniel, because Daniel's starting to feel himself, you know what I'm saying, because he won a little tournament. So anyway, 6 months later, cut to 6 months later, Daniel and Allie, who's Elizabeth Shue's character, end up breaking up. I know Elizabeth Shue in real life didn't like how her character was written out of the movie. They made it to where she fell in love with some football player and left Daniel for him. I'm like, man, that's a cold piece. And that doesn't look good on the character of Allie. It makes her look superficial and like, shallow. Like, man, you broke up with Daniel for this? After he got his ass kicked for you the whole first movie? He getting his ass kicked for you repeatedly in the first movie. Picking you up in the Booger Green station wagon, meeting your parents, and you leaving for a musty-ass football player? I expect more from you, Allie. So that was a cool way to write her out of the whole thing. So, he's dealing with that breakup. And then his mom, Daniel's mom, gets a job in Fresno. Fresno, California. Listen, if y'all not familiar with California, Fresno is just, it's better than Bakersfield, but Fresno. That's all I'm going to say about Fresno. But shout out to the people that's from Fresno. Shout out to the rapper Fast Sean, who I enjoy. But Fresno, the armpit of California. So, gets a job at Fresno, so he's bummed that he got to move to Fresno. But then, Mr. Miyagi arranges it so that he can stay with Mr. Miyagi. So Daniel and Mr. Miyagi could just, be roommates now. So Daniel's all excited, you know what I'm saying? They're about to have the summer of their lives, man, best friends together, you know what I'm saying? But Mr. Miyagi gets a letter from back home saying that his father is dying. And he's like, oh man, you know what I'm saying? And Daniel's like, yo, your dad is dying? Like, yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? This girl, I ain't seen or heard from in decades. You know what I'm saying? What's her name? Yuki? Yuki is just, yeah, she telling me my father's dying, man. Let me tell you why I left Okinawa, man. Let me keep it real. Because we didn't know that much about Mr. Miyagi. We knew that he had a wife and child that he lost during childbirth. So we knew he was dealing with that given the first film, which I didn't revisit in the revisit. But he lost his wife and child. So we knew that he had pain. We knew that he had sorrow in his heart, and he had a past. But now we digging deeper into his past and like, yo, you got a whole dad? I didn't even know your dad was alive. This is what Daniel said. Because we don't know nothing about Mr. Miyagi, man. Keeping it close to the vest. So he finds out, Yuki writes him, and like, your dad is dying. You need to come see him. You know what I'm saying? And then he reveals to Daniel why he even left Okinawa. And like, turns out, it was over a girl, which was Yuki. I hope I'm saying her name right. So he had a best friend named Sato, all right? So they were best friends. Sato was arranged to marry Yuki, but Yuki and Mr. Miyagi were madly in love with one another. So Mr. Miyagi's like, man, I want to marry you regardless of the arrangement, man. This is what's real right here. The hell with that arrangement. And Sato took it as disrespect, so he's like, yo, man, we can fight to the death. We can fight to the death. That's how he talks. We can fight to the death. Bring it on, we'll fight to the death. Mr. Miyagi was like, cool, I'm out. I'm not gonna fight you, bro. I'm out. I'm gone, shouty. I'm out, shouty. He left Okinawa for decades. Didn't even come back. Left everybody. Left his dad, left the love of his life, left his best friend. He's like, I'm not fighting you. I'm out. Stayed away that long. So, in Sato's eyes, Mr. Miyagi was a coward. And so he decides to go back because he got to see his dad. And Mr. Miyagi's dad ended up, taking Sato in. Even though Sato was the son of like the richest dude in the village, he ended up training Mr. Miyagi and Sato. So Sato, that's his teacher. So he has respect for Mr. Miyagi's dad. But as far as Mr. Miyagi, in Sato's eyes, you're a coward. You're a coward. Coward. And so Daniel's like, yo, let me go to Okinawa with you, man. He's like, nah, man, you gotta stay here, man. Get your college together, get that going, man. You got stuff to get ready for. He's like, no, come on, man. You ain't got the money anyway. So Daniel forces himself on the trip. He runs up back to when you could just run up on the plane and just get on the plane easy. He runs up, and Mr. Miyagi's standing at the little, when you getting on the plane, that's serious business. You can't just be running up to the gate. You can't just be at the door. Once you go down the tunnel, ain't no turning back. They don't play around with airplanes. You can't be going back and forth. So Daniel runs up and he's like, yo, man, I took the money out of my savings. I'll just make the money back. Yo, Daniel's like, yo, let me be there for you just like you was there for me, man. That's what friends do. Mr. Miyagi was like, man, get your ass on the plane, man. So they go to Okinawa. And, Daniel's getting all the scoop and he's just like, yo, man. He's just asking like, why didn't you just fight him? You know what I'm saying? And Mr. Miyagi was like, because one of us would have died and shit. I ain't want all that. And Daniel took it in. He was like, damn, man. And he looked out the window. So in Mr. Miyagi's mind, he's thinking Yuki married, Sato, that they were just married. So he didn't want to disrespect nothing. But he had to see his dad. So they get out there. They get scooped up by this one guy that was waiting for Mr. Miyagi at the airport. They get in the car. He's like, yeah, man, we heard you were coming in town, putting on that friendly face. Turns out, that's Sato's nephew. They take him to some, little factory or warehouse that Sato owns. And he's like, uncle, we got the cowards out here. And then, Sato comes out, Miyagi, coward. Let's fight. He still want to fight. It's been decades. Mr. Miyagi done had a wife and kid die on him. He done trained Daniel-san to great heights. He done got old antique cars that Daniel waxed on and waxed off, and he was painting the house, and then he comes back years later. You still want to fight? You still being petty? Coward! Let's fight. Mr. Miyagi's like, yo, man, I'm not fighting you, bro. I'm not fighting you, man. I'm here to check on my dad. Leave us alone. And, you know, the nephew instigating, man. Y'all some cowards, man. You and this little American boy from Jersey you got with you, y'all some cowards. The energy is just trash as soon as they get to Okinawa. So they get to the village. He sees Yuki's there with her, I'm not sure if it's her daughter or her niece or whatever. She opens the door. So it's a young girl for Daniel to, like, you know, hang out with, you know. Yuki's in there with Mr. Miyagi's dad, so he sees her and he's just like, you know, his eyes are watering and he's just like, it's been a long time. He's seeing his dad, he's reminiscing. Then he finds out Yuki never married him. She never married Sato. She was madly in love with Mr. Miyagi. He was just like, well, if you never married him, why you ain't holler at me, man? I've been out here for decades, man. Wax on, wax off, tournament, people punching windshields in the parking lot. Where was you at? And she was like, out of respect for you, I just didn't reach out. Let me tell you something about this honor in Okinawa, man. They take an honor to epic levels out here. The honor and the respect is huge. So she was like, I ain't write you no letter for decades, even though you are the love of my life. I didn't want to reach out. I didn't want to disrespect what you had going. I would have emailed, sent letters. I'd been like, look, I never married such and such, man. Holler at me. That would have been me. You know what I'm saying? But I guess I'm not honorable like that. But anyway, so they find that out. And then Basatu was like, man, forget all that, man. I want to fight you to the death, man. It ain't over. If it wasn't for your dad, I'd have killed you a long time ago, man. You know what I'm talking about? So fast forward, cutting, you know what I'm saying, the nephew in town cutting up, ripping people off, him and Daniel having encounters and whatnot. You know, they socking them out because, you know, these cats can fight in Okinawa, man. They can fight out here. So they all out here, and then Mr. Miyagi's dad calls them both in. Mr. Miyagi and Sato come in here. It's urgent. You know, Sato is just trying to chop a big-ass, thick piece of wood with his old bitter-ass hands. Just coward, just chopping the wood, but he can't chop it in half. He can't chop it in half because he's bitter. You know what I'm saying? You got to let go of that bitterness so you can chop the wood in half. That's the message I'm getting. So they go in there. Mr. Miyagi's holding both their hands. He's just like, man, I want y'all to squash this stupid beef. Put your hands together. He died. He died quick, too. He was just like, ugh. Big dead. So they looking at each other. He's looking, man, out of respect for my teacher, I will give you 3 days to mourn. After that, we fight to the death at midnight. And you better not run, no tricks. So he determined to fight Mr. Miyagi to the death for this woman that never even wanted him. All right, so fast forward, you know what I'm saying? Mr. Miyagi's like, all right, man, I'm going to fight you, man. So he's like, look, because all the while, since Mr. Miyagi is refusing to fight him, he's having his nephew and his goons mess up the village, tear up the farmland. He doing bulldozing. He doing hella shit just to destroy the village and the integrity of the village, just to get at Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi was like, all right, man, I'll fight you if you leave the village alone. If you leave the village be, I'll fight you. I'm sick of you, man. I'll give you what you want, goddamn. And Daniel's like, come on, man, let's just go back to Cali, man. Let's go back to Cali, like LL Cool J said. And he's like, nah, man, you know what I'm saying? Because if I go back, the village is going to be tore up. I can't live with that. You know what I'm saying? Let's just do this. Let's just get it out the way. I'm still not going to fight him. I'm going to just die. Mr. Miyagi is an honorable dude, man. So, push come to shove, a typhoon happens. Everybody's in trouble, you know what I'm saying? A house falls on Sato. Mr. Miyagi and Daniel save Sato's life while his nephew leaves Sato for dead. Leaves him for dead. Mr. Miyagi and Daniel pull up. He got a big plank of wood on him. Like, this is the only way you'll fight me, you coward. Mr. Miyagi ends up chopping the big-ass piece of wood in half. They get the wood off him to save his life. They run up in the shelter. And then there's this little girl trapped on a little light pole. And Daniel's like, I'll get her. You know what I'm saying? Goes out there, it's harrowing stuff. It's electric, power lines going off. And Satu's telling his nephew, go help Daniel. And his nephew's like, I can't, I refuse. And he goes and hides in the corner. So he sees Daniel doing this honorable shit. He sees Mr. Miyagi save his life. And he's looking at his coward nephew. And he's just like, coward, you're dead to me. You're dead to me, nephew. The nephew runs out into the typhoon, just running tantrum and all that good stuff. So they squashed the beef on that strength alone. It's like, yo, you saved my life, this, that, and the third. I got a change of heart. Decades of beef and bitterness have lifted from my heart because you chopped that piece of wood off my chest. So now they're having this ceremony where the girl that Daniel likes is doing some kind of, ancient dance and stuff like that. Everybody having a good time. And then the nephew comes out, challenges Daniel to a fight. And Mr. Miyagi's like, look, man, this is a fight to the death, Daniel. This ain't no tournament in Reseda. This serious business out here. Man, Daniel's like, man, let's do it, man. You been training me again, man. Let's get it cracking. Let's get it popping. So Daniel and the nephew end up fighting to the death. And it's funny, all the while, Daniel been rocking his old school raggedy Nike Cortez the whole time, high-waisted jeans in Okinawa. Ain't nothing changed with Daniel, man. This is the same OG. So they fighting to the death. Stakes is high. You know what I'm saying? Lives is on the line. This ain't a tournament. And he fighting, man. He fighting in jeans and a little traditional Japanese top, but he got on jeans. He got on Wranglers. And he fighting. He tried to do that kick from the first one. Dude blocks it, serves his ass up. Daniel ends up channeling like the move Mr. Miyagi taught him early in the film with this sharp hook coming in and you knowing how to dodge that hook. So he's using that to his advantage and he's piecing him out, just piecing him with the hard slaps. Takes him out, beats the nephew. They win the honor. The honor and the glory is back to the village. Mr. Miyagi squashes beef with his boy. It's a good time. Critics didn't like this one as much as the first one. When I was younger, I liked it better than the first one, but now when I revisit it, I like the first one better. Even though the Karate Kid 2 is still pretty good because we get to really dig into Mr. Miyagi's life. Because Mr. Miyagi, like I said in the other video, is the heart and soul of these movies. So it was good to see where he was brought up, where he came from, why he is the way he is, and just seeing their traditions over there in Okinawa, even though it was shot in Hawaii. So, and then it goes off right after the fight. We did it, Mr. Miyagi. We did it again. Mr. Miyagi, we did that again, man. We did it again. Part 2. God damn it, part 2. Boom, goes off. Karate Kid 2, man. That's my revisit. Karate Kid 2. Good watch, entertaining. Stay tuned for my Karate Kid Part 3 revisit. I need to get my voice a rest as y'all can hear, but I wanted to get y'all this revisit before I lose track. Anyway, stay tuned. Don't forget to comment. Let me know in the comment section below which Karate Kid you prefer, the first or the second one. Let me know how you feel about the second one. And yeah, man, let me know what you think about Daniel's shoes, man. Let me know in the comment section below.